Hi everyone, I hope you're having a lovely day so far. In this video, I'm going to tell you the story of my first ever finished knit sweater. I'm very excited. So please keep watching if you want to see my sweater and the process that I went through to make it. I'm going to start off by showing you the finished sweater. It's right here. It is this navy blue, really chunky knit sweater with a little double fish pattern on it. So I said it's a finished sweater. It's not actually completely finished. I have not woven in this end yet. And part of the reason for that is because I'm not 100% sure that it's actually finished. I'll tell you the story first and then we'll get into kind of what I think the issues are with this sweater and what I might want to do with it next. So the story of this sweater begins about 2 years ago. I actually wasn't really knitting at all. I was mainly just into crochet, and I'd been crocheting lots of little items like tote bags and beanies, things like that. And I decided that I wanted to make something bigger. I ended up seeing this YouTube video by Vivcrochets. It was a tutorial on how to make a Catghan sweater. So I'll try to insert a photo or something here to show you what that sweater looks like. So I found that YouTube tutorial and I thought that I was kind of at the right level in my skills as a crocheter that I could make it. So I saved the tutorial and started thinking about what colors I might want to do for the cat pattern. I took inspiration from a piece I already had in my wardrobe, this Patagonia fleece. I love the colors in this, and I also love the pattern, but I didn't think I'd be able to recreate something like this with knit or crochet. So anyway, I decided to do the cat pattern sweater in this kind of colorway. Really, I should have bought a 4-weight yarn, so like a medium weight yarn. But when I was at Michael's, I found a different yarn that had some percentage of wool in it, that had kind of nice colors that I wanted, and so I ended up buying that. The yarn that I bought was this Lion Brand Yarns Wool Easy, the Thick and Quick yarn. Thick and Quick because it is a super bulky yarn. It is a 6-weight yarn, which is much bigger than what Vivcrochets video calls for or recommends. I didn't really see an issue with this because I thought I'd be able to make the pattern work for this thicker yarn. So I bought a bunch of balls of this yarn. This is the navy, and I bought a bunch of other colors as well. These are the colors that I got. So I've got the navy blue, this turquoisey green, a really vibrant purple. I've never seen a purple this bright before. I'm not sure if it's kind of catching on camera, but it's really almost pearlescent. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it is really vibrant. And then a red and a kind of golden yellow shade. So I wanted the blue to be the main background color of the sweater, and I was gonna make the cats out of these 4 other colors. I started crocheting the sweater and I worked all the way up to the top of the cats, and it was really, really big. I think I started questioning things a little bit at that point once I realized how big it was, and it had taken me weeks and weeks of work to crochet to the top of all the cats. And I found it really tricky with all the color work and different yarns, and it didn't really turn out the way that I had hoped. I did end up finishing the entire sweater. I sewed everything up, I added the sleeves, I did everything and tried it on, and the shape was so odd. I really messed it up. Like it looked like a dress on me. It was really huge. The armholes were too short. I'd sewed up too high, I guess, and it was just really uncomfortable to wear. So, oh, and the other thing I didn't love about it, probably because I used such a chunky yarn, it was really thick. It wouldn't really drape at all. It was very rigid. It felt like wearing a rug kind of which just was not comfortable. It wasn't what I wanted. So I kind of thought about what I could do with it. Could I tweak it somehow to make it work better as a sweater? Ultimately, as I'm sure you probably have realized by now, I decided just to unravel the whole thing and wrap it all into yarn balls to use for something else. So I have a bunch of these little balls of yarn that are all left over from that original cat sweater. When I decided to try making the sweater again, I chose to knit the sweater as opposed to crochet, because I think I realized that I personally like the fit of knitwear better than a crocheted piece, at least for like a sweater or a vest or something. I think the knit just kind of drapes better. So yeah, I decided to go with a knit sweater instead, and I ended up finding a free pattern on Lion Brand Yarn's website, which was great. It's called the Cozy Campfire Sweater pattern, and that's what I used to knit the sweater that I have now. I was gonna use the colors that I have from the cat sweater to kind of make the pattern on the Cozy Campfire sweater. So I went out and I bought a set of circular needles from Michaels. This is just like a set of plastic needles, and in the size US 17, which is 12.75 millimeters, which is really huge. So I had to ask my mom how to read the knitting pattern, because I'd never used a knitting pattern before knitting this sweater, I don't think. Or maybe I had once. I had knit a little tea towel thing once with my mom, but she was there to help me interpret the pattern. So anyway, I had to reach out for help on how to read that one. And then I cast it on with my background color, the navy blue. And I realized it was a cast on with my tree color. So I had already kind of messed up, and I'd already knitted a decent amount. So I decided to actually just scrap the campfire design on the sweater. And then I tried color blocking. So I just grabbed another color and started knitting with that until that ball ran out, because I ended up with all these small balls of yarn from unraveling the cat sweater. So this is what I ended up knitting. So yeah, the navy blue at the bottom, and then I switched to the yellow yarn and then to the red. And I don't hate this. Like, it's not bad, but it's just not really my style. So I decided not to go with this for a few reasons. One, just because I don't really wear stripes and I wasn't all for it, but also because when I was switching the colors, I would just switch them as soon as the yarn ran out. So I ended up with these sort of like steps going on. I should have changed the yarn color at the end of the row to avoid that, but at the time I didn't clue in. So anyway, this is my first like test knit. I don't have any stitch holders, so it's actually just sitting on the cord from a phone charger. It actually works really well for something that's so chunky because the stitches are so huge. But anyway, yeah, so that's the first iteration of the Cozy Campfire sweater without the campfire design. And so I decided I didn't like the stripes. What I decided to do is hold two colors together. I held the red and the purple together to cast on, and then as soon as the purple yarn ended, I added in the yellow and continued that on. I think this is neat. It's cool, but because I was holding the two super bulky yarns together, it ended up being really thick, which is fine, but again, it doesn't drape the way that I would want it to, I don't think. I mean, I didn't knit that much. It's pretty hard to see how it would sit, but I thought this was too thick, and also because I'm holding two together, it ended up being a larger size than what the pattern was kind of saying it would. So I figured I'd probably run into the same issue as I did with that original cat sweater, and I really didn't want to end up with something that was too big again after all the effort that I'd put in. So I scrapped this idea too, and I cast it on again with the navy blue yarn, and I just knit the whole thing in blue. So yeah, I used the circular needle, this one, to knit the whole body, like the front and back panels. And then in the pattern it says you need to pick up stitches around the neckline and for the sleeves. And these needles just did not work for that purpose. because everything was too tight. It was too close together. I would have had to use the magic loop, and also because these needles are so long, it was really hard to work something that small. So I ended up buying another set of needles. I got some double pointed needles, and these are the first wooden needles I've ever used. I actually really liked them. They feel really nice. So that's what we have here. This is the Cozy Campfire sweater, knit in one color with no color work at all. This fish pattern was just added on after I'd already knit the whole sweater. So yeah, this is just a plain blue sweater. She's not bad. She's not bad. She is chunky. This is a really chunky sweater. Probably a chunkier sweater than I would really want to have or wear, but I've got all the yarn. I have to find something to do with it. So yeah, that is the sweater. And this yarn, when I was showing you my Thick and Quick, the Wool Ease yarn, I didn't have a white. This is actually a different yarn that my partner got for me from, I think, a thrift store. It's just this yarn. It's not a super bulky weight yarn, but it worked for the purpose of adding on the little fish pattern. So to learn how to do the duplicate stitching, I watched a Made in the Moment video, which I will link somehow in case you'd like to check that out and learn how to do it yourself. And the fish pattern that I added onto the finished sweater, I used Stitch Fiddle to design that pattern, and I found inspiration from this really cool account on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is Eleanor Rose Knitwear, and I love so many of the things that she posts on there. So there are a few sweaters that I really took inspiration from. I'll try to add them here so you can check them out. But yeah, I took inspiration from her knitwear that she was posting, and then I just stitched that right on after making the chart on Stitch Fiddle. So that is how I ended up with this sweater. This end still needs to be woven in, but that's fine. I'm happy that it's done, but I don't necessarily think that it's extremely wearable. It's more chunky than I would like. Also, there's lots of holes kind of around the neckline where I had to pick up those stitches. I don't think I did it very neatly. Or even if I did it neatly, the pattern says to pick up a little over 30 stitches or something in for the neckline, and that means you have to pick up almost over every other stitch. So yeah, like I think you can probably see here, there's a pretty big gap between each of these holes, and each of those holes exist because that's where I picked up stitches, I think, or it's the space in between. Yeah, that's the space in between where I picked up stitches. So I don't know how I could have avoided that, because I had to pick up the right number of stitches to knit the neckline. So I don't know. I don't know if this is my fault or if it's just because it's a chunky knit sweater and that's what the pattern called for. Maybe I could have done it more neatly if I was a better knitter. That's the same thing with the connection between the body and the sleeve. There's no like raglan or anything. It's literally just you sew together the front and back panel and then you pick up stitches to knit the sleeve. So it kind of sits over your shoulder. This is the kind of shoulder that my mom doesn't love as a knitter. I think she prefers a raglan because it looks a bit neater and more cohesive. But this is all I could really handle for my current skill level in knitting. So anyway, this is the finished sweater. I'll try to insert a clip of me wearing it, or maybe I'll just put it on right now so you can see it. There she is. So yeah, this is the finished sweater. I still have quite a few ends that are sort of sticking out here and there that need to be woven in, but I wanted to wait until I was really happy with it to do that, because it's definitely more of a pain trying to unravel a sweater after you've woven in all the ends, because you have to sort of find them. But yeah, this is it. This is the sweater. So the fit isn't terrible. Like, it's fine. I noticed the back is very cropped. I don't know why the back is so cropped, which is fine, but it's not perfect by any means. And yeah, like I said, there are some pretty big gaps at the top, but as long as I'm wearing black underneath or a dark color, they're not quite as obvious. So anyway, this is the finished sweater. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, this is my very first YouTube video ever, so I'm still learning and trying to figure out how to do it, but I hope that you enjoyed. And I'm really looking forward to getting some more videos out for people to watch. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And leave me a comment as well if you have any recommendations for how I could fix this sweater, or if you have any tips for me for knitting in the future. But yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day and or week. Yeah, take care. Bye.